Shalom Chaverim. So let's set the scene here at the beginning of this Parashat, which in English means send for yourself. Shalach lecha. This first part was not read today as part of the triennial reading, but it's extremely powerful, and I decided to speak about it. At the end, I'll also be willing to listen to comments or questions. If you recall, Moses sends 12 men, one leader from each tribe, to examine the land and its inhabitants. 10 of the 12 men, also called scouts or spies, returned from the land with an ambivalent and fearful report. The land is good, but the people are giants, and the cities impregnable. Now, two disagree, Joshua ben Nun and Caleb, but they are ignored. Hashem gets upset about this response, and Moses talks him down a bit, but nonetheless, this leads to the Israelites wandering 40 years in the desert and a new generation growing up that did not know slavery. But what underlies the perceptions of the scouts that the people are giants in this land and cannot be defeated? You know, in my work, I'm thinking of Doobie Paz right now as I'm saying this. In my work with chronic pain patients, I deal with expectations, often false, and how these beliefs lead to suffering. In a sense, expectations become reality for people. Obstacles become overwhelming, and inner strength becomes undervalued. Who in this room hasn't catastrophized about something at some point? Now, if you're the rabbi giving a sermon, you have to read a little bit of Hebrew and then translate it, so I thought I would do that now. Vanahi be'enehem chachagavim v'chen hayinu be'enehem, which means we looked like grasshoppers to ourselves, and so we must have looked to them, said the spies after their return to camp. It was their self-perception as weak, as insects, as small, that led to this misjudgment of the inhabitants. They underestimated themselves, and they underestimated Hashem. In 40 years, the Canaanites did not shrink, and the Israelites did not grow, but their perceptions certainly changed. The cohort of Israelites over 20 at the time of the Exodus all died out. The babies and children grew up and entered the promised land, led by Joshua and Caleb. What other possibilities are proposed in commentaries about this section of the Parsha? One that is mentioned is that the spies went through Hebron, but did not visit the tombs of the patriarchs and matriarchs, and this may have led to the punishment. Another is that they were afraid of losing the close connection to Hashem that they had in the desert where revelation had occurred. A deeper concern about keeping a spiritual connection while navigating the complexities of conquering lands, moving to cities, farming, etc. They feared new responsibilities. So this posits a fear of success in addition to the fear of failure. They did not understand that God intended for them to engage with the world, not retreat from it in the desert where you can be alone. This brings us to contemporary Jewish life, where a segment of the religious community, the Haredim, retreat from work and from military service and from engaging with the secular world. In contrast, modern Orthodox and other groups do not. Interestingly, the Lubavitcher Rebbe commented that our childhood is a unique spiritual time where everything is provided for us and we have minimal responsibilities. In contrast, adulthood comes along and we have physical responsibilities, providing for ourselves and others, and engaging with the good and bad of the world, even dealing with giants at times. Why 40 years? Because of the 40 days the spies took to examine the land and its people is the clearest explanation. But 40 comes up again and again in the Torah. The number 40 signifies a period of testing, trial, or a time of transition or transformation. It often marks a period of preparation before a significant event or a new phase in one's life or the life of a group. Examples of this would be the flood lasted 40 days. Moses spent 40 days on Mount Sinai before descending, 40 years under Philistine oppression, and 40 years in the desert wandering. So these are 4 examples from the Torah. Another tidbit, the grape bunch brought back by the spies. Remember, they were bringing back fruit on Moses' request to show the abundance of the land. But the grape bunch was so big that they had to have 2 men carry it on a pole. Maybe you've seen a drawing of this. Well, this drawing is the symbol of tourism in Israel to this day. The Ministry of Tourism has 2 men carrying a huge grape bunch hanging on a pole between them, coming from this Parashat. So a couple of other messages. Shalach Lecha teaches the importance of acknowledging the miracle of our own existence and recognizing our inherent worth. The grasshopper metaphor teaches us to believe in ourselves and not allow fear and negativity to overwhelm us, as it did the 10 of the 12 spies. Rashi took it a step further. He analyzed a midrash and wrote that the spies not only thought they were grasshoppers, but they thought they were ants, even smaller creatures, more easily stomped upon when they were in the vineyard of the land. Rashi also points out that the spies should have self-evaluated their worth and not relied on a comparison to how they believed they were perceived. And this is a powerful message for us, for all of us, for all time. Self-worth must ultimately come from inside and not be based upon comparing ourselves to our neighbor or those who appear to be successful. I remind patients that of those people you see driving by in a limousine with tinted windows, you don't know if the people inside are miserable, getting divorced, grieving, or suffering in so many ways in their life. All you see is a big fancy car. In contrast, Caleb and Joshua, who were permitted by God to survive the 40 years and enter the land, had a positive outlook which stemmed from their faith in Hashem and their refusal to let external threats diminish their inherent self-worth. I think now of those remarkable men and women who flew thousands of kilometers to bomb Iranian military sites and continue to do so, and the agents who lived on Iranian soil. They had extreme belief in themselves, faith in their nation and in their cause, and perhaps as well in Hashem. We may indeed be living in a time of miracles. And the final take-home is, we must learn from this teaching to cultivate our self-respect, our innate courage, a positive mindset, and recognize our own worth and our ability to overcome challenges with God's help. Shabbat Shalom. Any questions or comments? All right.
I have a comment. I read something interesting. It was like, they asked if when they should have asked how.
Okay, so another excellent.